Altissimo! Today we're going to explore the third octave and beyond. I've got some exercises to extend your range and annoy the neighbors. Hi, and welcome to the Saxophone Academy. I'm Dr. Wally Wallace, and if you're interested in saxophone masterclasses and product reviews, please do subscribe. We've got some very cool topics coming up in the weeks ahead. Now today we're talking about Altissimo. I've got some really good basic exercises and fingerings to get you started. So the way I teach Altissimo is what I call Wally's Bridges to Success. There should have been an animation there, but I couldn't figure out how to do it. So we're going to start from a place of success and slowly build on top of that, increasing the range. Now, in future videos, we're going to talk much more in depth about advanced fingerings and going higher, but today we're going to get a good, solid foundation to build you all the way up to D4, or High Altissimo D. Now let's start with a couple of ground rules. Like most things on saxophone, we want to keep our embouchure relaxed. When we do Altissimo, we want to use our voicing and air velocity, much like overtones. And the overtone scales I've used from a previous video is a good starting place. I'll put a link below. We want to practice these a little bit each day, but not overdo it. We certainly don't want to get it tight or tense as we do it. And you can cheat with Altissimo. If you bite or use jaw pressure, it is easier to get the notes out, like it is with a large baffle and a jumbo Java. I'm going to use my classical mouthpiece today, so I'll commiserate with you. We want to keep our embouchures relaxed and let our tongue position and air direction do the work. Now, as you go into the Altissimo range, you're going to have to experiment a lot with your voicing or tongue position. Overtones are a good starting place to learn the mechanisms of the tongue movement, but they're not great for learning the voicing of Altissimo. I find playing an overtone of C, Altissimo G, feels so very different than actually using the Altissimo fingering. You're going to need to experiment with these fingerings and find the right voicing for you. And there's really no shortcut. If I could say move your tongue up or down or left or right, I would, but everyone's mouth and oral structure is different. So when one person moves their tongue up, they might get a slightly different result than someone else. And we're also bad at determining which part of our tongue we're moving. If there's a shortcut, I'd happily give it to you, but it's going to require a lot of experimentation on your part. If you get stuck though, try whistling. As you whistle and go up, check what your tongue is doing. That's a good guidepost to begin, at least, finding the right voicing for going into the Altissimo. So the gateway I use to get my students into the Altissimo range starts with front E and F. From there, we're going to move up to F sharp, fingered as a front fingering, and then the voicing will feel very similar as it does to the low Altissimo range. So to start, we're going to start somewhere comfortable. Let's start with C with octave key and simply slur up to front E. From there, we're going to lift a finger and go to front F. Increase your air velocity and try to bring the note in focus, keeping a good clear tone like you got on that front E. From there, we're going to go to the Altissimo fingering of F sharp. Don't cheat if you have a high F sharp key. Use these fingerings that I'm providing. That's going to be essentially the first note of Altissimo on your saxophone. Again, slur to it, hold it, try to remember the voicing that brings it into focus, then try getting a good clean start on that note. Once you're comfortable with that front F sharp, start back at D and just play the first three notes of the D major scale, slurring up and down, and try to keep the color consistent across the notes. From there, we slur from the front F sharp fingering to G, and G is going to feel quite a bit different. Experiment with your tongue position and try to increase your air velocity. Once again, hold it, remember the voicing, and then try to start on that Altissimo G. Then we keep doing this process, building a bridge from a note you know to one you want to learn. We're going to do from G to G sharp, then G sharp to A, the same process. Now, take some time and incorporate over the coming weeks what you've learned thus far. Start with D and try slurring up and down all the way to Altissimo A. Again, make sure you're using voicing, not jaw tension, and try to keep the color and timbre of sound consistent as you climb in the range. Keep a good tone quality even in the Altissimo range. Now we're going to extend the range all the way up to Altissimo D. So from here to move up, we start doing what's called overblowing the palm keys. I hate that term, I just can't think of a better one. We play a major sixth above each of the fingered palm keys into the Altissimo range. And if you have trouble remembering what that sounds like, picture the NBC Peacock theme while you play it. Now remember when I told you to keep your embouchure relaxed? If I'm honest, my embouchure does get quite a bit tighter as I get to that range. I find a little bit of firmness helps not only with response, but also with intonation. Experiment, but try not to get too tight. Put it all together and you can play your D major scale into the Altissimo range. Now don't try to accomplish this all in one day, 1 week, or even 1 month if you've never done this before. These are challenging things meant for the intermediate or advanced player, and you can still make a lot of great music in the normal range of the saxophone. So practice a little bit each day, but try not to overdo it. Now we're going to go much more in depth in a future episode where we talk about alternate fingerings, fixing intonation, and climbing even higher. In the meantime, if you found this useful, I'd certainly appreciate a thumbs up and go practice.